So, what's this video about then? Why am I asking? I know what it's about. I want to talk about a dream I had because it's quite strange, which, you know, is kind of normal for most dreams. That's kind of their whole point, is that they're strange. But this one in particular is strange because I shouldn't have even really had this dream in the first place. Where to start? I feel like I have something to say before I get into it, but I can't remember what that is. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, I should probably start talking about who this dream is about. So, RTGame is a real content creator. They actually make content on YouTube and probably elsewhere that I don't know about. I'm not big into watching RTGame. I only know about them because of their connection to someone else who I will also talk about later because they're also relevant. And the thing about it that makes this dream especially weird is I don't watch RTGame a whole lot. Matter of fact, I've only just started like very vaguely getting into RTGame's content. Like I watched about like 2 minutes of one of RTGame's videos and that was it. So that's about as far as I've gotten in terms of getting into watching RTGame. So realistically, I shouldn't have had this dream. I did anyway, apparently. And it's clear that the dream also kind of didn't really know that this was happening either, funnily enough. Because it actually starts out as an entirely another type of dream that I like to call endless wandering, where the entire objective of the dream is unspecified and I'm just supposed to wander around, but I don't really do whatever the unspoken objective is. I just kind of wander around and do random stuff. It's kind of like in a video game where you're wandering around doing a whole bunch of unrelated bullcrap that doesn't have anything to do with the main mission. You ever do that sometimes? Where you just wander around and explore a video game, just doing a whole bunch of random gobbledygook, and you just don't even go for the main objective. That's what these dreams are like, and they usually take place in some sort of warehouse type place. I don't know, some sort of like brightly lit, like it's always tan, always brightly lit tan warehouse. I don't know why tan is the color of the place. That doesn't make any sense realistically. Now we're actually going to talk about what happens. And for the first half of the dream, all that really happens is I just do this aimless wandering around what the dream tries to tell me is a mall, but it looks more like a combination between a warehouse and IKEA, which is a very strange combination. Really, with the IKEA stuff, I should have probably seen where this dream was going, because they had like little furniture setups just like IKEA does, and clearly you could buy them because there were price tags. I never saw the prices, but there were price tags. And there was also a single restaurant, which I'm assuming is how the dream, you know, constitutes this place being a mall. Matter of fact, the funny thing about the restaurant is it had no signage, no branding even, not even any menus or whatever. Matter of fact, there wasn't even anyone working in this restaurant. Matter of fact, the lights inside the restaurant weren't even on. Matter of fact, none of the lights around the restaurant were on. Matter of fact, there was no one even at the restaurant. Probably because the restaurant was closed. Well, no, it was open. There was just literally no one there. It's a really strange inclusion, and the dream kind of focused on it a little bit. I'm kind of over-exaggerating it, because it's really not an important detail. Like, I don't even physically go to this restaurant in the dream, so it's not important at all. But I just thought that was kind of funny that we have literally just a default restaurant chilling in this mall in this dream that I had. Anyways, so I'm going around this warehouse area. There's other people here too. There's other people like shopping in this mall, some of which are people that I know personally from my real life, because they tend to appear quite often in my dreams. And I come across a few of them every so often throughout the dream, and I just kind of try not to talk to them because I guess normally I do try to interact with them, but I guess in this particular style of dream, that's kind of flipped, where now I don't want to talk to them, which is very interesting. Now, this whole concept of meeting people that I know from my past is relevant, because the dream actually flips this into something really weird. And this is where the dream starts to get really weird. Like, my other dreams aren't normally like this one. Normally, if I was having a dream like this, I would just aimlessly wander doing random stuff until the end of the dream, and then I would wake up. That's literally how these dreams go normally. The fact that this one didn't, and the direction that it took when it decided not to go in this direction, is very strange. And I'm going to start talking about that now, because I'm pretty sure I've said the same thing like 3 times already. So, I meet someone that I know from my past, but not really. The dream at first presents it as someone that I know from my past, but immediately something is off about this person. I don't actually know who this person could be referring to. I can take a guess, but I don't know for sure. Regardless, I don't know their name, so I can't exactly dox them. Oh, phew, man. That was a close one. Anyway, so this person comes up to me and starts talking to me because they know me. And, you know, they're all pleasant and nice. Meanwhile, apparently I'm just really not in the mood. Like, I'm a kind of a jerk. I just kind of look at them, just kind of dismissively, and then I just walk by them and just keep up with my aimless wandering. It was really weird. It's probably because that's kind of what I've been doing for everyone else that I knew from my past, and because I thought that this person was someone that I did know from my past, just a regular someone I knew from my past. That's why I just kind of dismissed them in the same way. Also, for some reason, the dream tried to make me think that this person was a female. They weren't. We'll get to that though. So, I continue my aimless wandering for a couple minutes, and then I end up next to an elevator, and then there's this person again. This person that's supposedly from my past that I know. Except, so they come up to me and they start talking to me again, all politely and excitedly, maybe not too excitedly, but they start talking to me nicely, and I realize, you're not who I thought you were, because you're not a female, you're a male. I think it was the voice. The voice is what made me think before that this person was a female, because they do have like a female-esque voice. I have gotten confused about that in real life. For some people, I've thought that, well, I haven't been sure if they are female or male just by hearing their voice. Anyways, so now that I've confirmed that this person is not who I thought they were, I need to find out who the freak they are. And this person gets on this elevator that we're standing right next to. And, you know, as I'm recognizing them, I'm like, wait a minute, yeah, you kind of are familiar. Why do I know you? And I step on the elevator as I say this, because for some reason, I guess the dream just kind of... One thing you're going to learn about this dream is that it just kind of imposes a lot of random stuff that isn't explicitly mentioned, but it's kind of like the dream feels like this is what's going on. Some of it actually ends up getting confirmed. So apparently the dream is just right, and there's not supposed to be any indication that it's actually what's going on until later down the line. Anyways, so I get on this elevator with this guy. Short description for now, they're just a guy in like a suit and tie. So like a businessman. Imagine a businessman. That's this guy. I won't explain any details about their face yet because that's important too. But I still don't really know who this person is. All I know is that I do recognize them. Keep that in mind, because when it's revealed what this person actually is, that's probably the most hilarious part of the entire dream, to be honest. So, I'm in the elevator doors close, and both me and this guy are going up, or maybe we were going down. I don't actually know which direction the elevator was going, but I think it was up. We go up to a different floor, and we both step off the elevator, and, you know, for some reason the dream... Oh yeah, I didn't mention this part. So the dream's intuition wants me to believe that this guy wants me to follow him. And that's why I got on the elevator in the first place, and that's why I'm continuing to follow him now. So this guy, this business person, leads me to, well, he leads me through the mall. We're on a different floor of the mall now that actually looks like a mall rather than an IKEA. None of the stores seem to be open, though, for some reason. Anyway, this guy leads me through the mall, and we meet up with RTGame. Oh, finally, the main subject of this video, RTGame. And it is actually RTGame, too. It looks exactly like him. I don't know what shirts this RTGame, this dream RTGame was wearing. All I know is he was wearing a bright green shirt with some colorful picture on it. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know if that's any, like, sort of attire that RTGame would wear. Regardless, it doesn't matter. So, it's revealed through a short interaction that this business guy, and it's not explicitly stated, this is more dream intuition coming in, but this guy is apparently RTGame's lawyer. And now I should describe his face. So this business guy is basically just RTGame, but the top of his head is ever so slightly wider, and also his face is ever so slightly rearranged. Like, it looks like RTGame, but off. Right? So that's how the dream justifies this being a different person. And it really is a different person, because when we meet up with RTGame, it is two separate people that are talking to each other. So they are both physically present. Anyway, so this business guy, this RTGame lawyer, meets up with RTGame, and I'm of course there because I was following the business guy. And this business lawyer guy that RTGame apparently, according to the dream's intuition, sent to find me. He introduces me to RTGame. RTGame and I shake hands, you know, he greets me, and then he tells me to follow him, so I start following him. This is the first time that the dream actually explicitly states that I need to follow somebody. So I'm following RTGame, and we eventually get to this stairwell. Now, I don't know how exactly we got in this stairwell, because the place we got in from ends up being a wall later in the dream, but we come in this way, and there's a stairway going down and a stairway going up. So right at this back wall, there's supposedly a door that ends up just not existing later. Anyway, so we go up the upper flight of stairs to go up to another floor, and there's this big, long, sort of like a hallway, but right next to it is a stadium, sort of like an indoor stadium, I guess. And in this stadium, there are, of course, seats, but of course, because this is a dream, we don't sit down in these seats. No, no, no. There's actually a railing right before all of the seats, just kind of on this little top ledge here, and that's where we're posted at. Anyway, so RTGame leads me to this group of people by the railings. I'm gonna try and show a visual here to try and get you guys to better understand kind of the layout of all these people. But basically, there's one person on one side of this sort of railing section, and then there's a whole bunch of people on the other side of this railing section and all these people that I've mentioned so far are like just normal, average-looking people. Right next to the big group of people are two people that have actually specially colored hair. One has pink hair and one has sort of like a light purplish hair. This light purplish hair character is going to be important later. And then RTGame and I slot in between the big group and the one person. So that's kind of how we're all arranged. And RTGame just kind of goes up and reintegrates into this group of people because presumably this group of people is RTGame's friend group. And then I just kind of slot in there too. They don't really notice me. I do make comments, so they do have all the opportunity to notice me. Speaking of, I'm making comments on a show that the dream doesn't even allow me to see. It's literally just an entirely pitch black stadium with the occasional burst of light to put light on some shapes that I can't see. So they're all excitedly talking about a show that isn't even visible. Anyways, the show isn't important. It's just important to set some context for why we're all on standing by a ledge watching this show. So after like a couple of seconds, like 30 seconds or something, of us watching this show and, you know, making comments, talking about it, and somehow nobody noticing that I'm here, I suddenly have something to throw out. Don't know where that came from, but I guess I do. So I obviously announce that I'm gonna go throw something out, and I walk around the big group of people, so I back out of my spot, walk around the big group of people, and now I'm on the other side of them and there's a trash bin there, which is actually more like a recycle bin, but the dream classifies it as a trash bin, so I think the dream is confused. While I'm throwing this out, the purple-haired girl speaks, and they say something or other about the show. I don't really remember what they say, but the voice that comes out of this purple-haired girl is the voice of Rin Penrose, and it's here where I need to set some more context before we can continue. So this is Rin Penrose, or this is a plushie of Rin Penrose. This is the old design. I still don't have the new one yet. And Rin Penrose is a VTuber. Now I gotta set even more context before we can talk about Rin Penrose and why Rin Penrose is significant to this dream. So VTubers are essentially where a real-life person controls a 2D or sometimes even 3D avatar. And it's usually got to do with like facial controls, although some of them can have like motion tracking for their whole body if, you know, they're in 3D. Or sometimes even if they're in 2D, I think. Not entirely sure about that, but I think I've heard something about that, yeah. Anyway, so that's basically what a VTuber is. VTubers have gotten very popular, and among those VTubers are Rin Penrose. Rin Penrose is my favorite VTuber, which is partially why Rin Penrose is so significant in this dream. VTubers have this thing, and like the main draw of being a VTuber is anonymity. Huh? Anonymity? Really? Being anonymous, protecting thine identity. That's kind of the main draw of why so many people go to VTubing. And so, if I ever, you know, make it into the well, not necessarily make it into the VTuber community, I'm fine with showing my face. But if I ever do, like, collab with VTubers or anything, I obviously want to make sure that their identity doesn't get freaking leaked. And a particular worry that I have is, and this will be prevalent in the dream as well, we'll get to that, I worry about being able to meet VTubers in real life. Like, getting that close to them where they, like, invite me to go meet them in real life. because I don't know, I just worry about like what that would do to my brain, like knowing what they actually look like. You know, it's a real big issue that I have, but I don't think I'll ever get that close to any VTubers, hopefully. If I do, I don't know what's gonna happen, but this is an important detail for the dream because it's something I legitimately worry about, like something that I foresee in the future. So anyway, this purple-haired girl speaks, and Rin Penrose's voice comes out. And funnily enough, the hairstyle of this purple-haired girl is the exact same as Rin Penrose's 2.0 design, or I guess just 2 design. There's no .0. What am I talking about? It's obviously not the same color, because the hair is light purple, as I've mentioned before, but it is the same, like, kind of shape. So that's kind of how, you know, the dream foreshadowed that. And so I hear the voice of Rin Penrose, and I look over to this purple-haired girl, and I'm like, oh, this was a really bad, like, I did not think about this at all. And apparently no one hears me still, because I guess they still don't know that I'm really there. And this is where the dream takes a random turn for no reason, because this is like a very serious moment now. Apparently, despite the fact that me and RTGame walked up the stairs, we apparently rode our bikes here. I don't know. So I get on my bike, that's just suddenly here now, and I ride my bike all the way down the stairs, which obviously isn't a safe idea, and my character even acknowledges this, which is why, and this is gotta be the weirdest solution to this problem. Going down the stairs on a bike is very unsafe and risky. So the dream's solution is to make me float all the way down the stairs. What is happening? It was really wacky. I don't know what the freak was happening here. So I get to the bottom, I float my way to the bottom, and when I'm near the bottom, I just kind of jump off my bike and let it float the rest of the way down. It crash lands, and where that door was, there is now a wall. You know, the door we went through to get to the stairwell, yeah, well, this is the part where there's a wall now. And I just kind of curl up into a ball next to this wall, and I don't start crying necessarily, but I sort of have like an anxiety attack of some kind, which is probably the most unrealistic part of this dream, because I don't think I would have an anxiety attack over this. It would just kind of scare me a little to like meet the real Rin Penrose one day. Especially just like unprompted, like just randomly coming across the real Rin Penrose. So I start having a mental breakdown over there, and this lasts for quite a while, actually, surprisingly. It doesn't last for like an absurdly long time, but it lasts for longer than I would expect for my dreams. And so I'm kind of having an anxiety attack, sort of crying, but not really. It's not really full-blown crying. It's more like just tears drop eventually, or like periodically, and I'm kind of like panting, like breathing heavily, and just constantly thinking about, I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready to meet the real Rin Penrose, which I shouldn't have been worried because this is a dream, mate. But still, it's based off of that like very legitimate fear that I have. So then, eventually, RTGame gets on his bike, and this isn't shown visually in the dream because it can't be. I'm too far down the stairs. These stairwells were really tall, by the way, and they had a lot of steps, like really, really small steps, which was just unnecessary, but whatever. The stairs are also like a very bright yellow. They sort of look like sponges, actually. And so does the platform that I'm currently on while I'm kind of crying and whatnot. So anyway, RTGame is on his bike. He goes down the stairs a lot less safely than I did, but in a way that actually makes sense because now he's at least not floating down the stairs. And RTGame, you know, he rounds the corner first of all, then he sees me, then he comes down the stairs, and then he goes on the platform where I am, and he stops his bike, and he remains on his bike, actually. He doesn't get off. And he asks me, you know, what's wrong? And again, I think about it for a long amount of time. And this part is realistic because when I'm upset, it often takes me a very long time to gather my thoughts and figure out how to say what I want to say. So this is actually a realistic part now. Eventually, I do decide that I want to speak, because that's another thing that I have to consider when I'm upset, is if I actually want to speak. And I decide that I do, and I say, like as if to start the sentence and to indicate that I'm also going to start talking. It might take a while, but I am going to. All the while, RTGame sits there kind of patiently waiting for my response, on his bike still. He does not get off. And then the dream ends after a while. I don't get to finish my thoughts. I just kind of woke up suddenly. Like literally, I felt a shock. Not like a really bad shock, but it was kind of like sudden, you know, just a sudden end to my dream. But right after the dream happened, I sort of continued it while awake. I more so thought about what would have happened had I continued talking. And I would have said something probably along the lines of, I don't know if you really know me that well, or how well you know me, because this is to reference back to the fact that RTGame sent his little lawyer guy to find me. And so I'd be like, I don't know how much you know about me, but I'm a fan of Rin Penrose. And that's Rin Penrose up there, and I don't know if I'm ready for that. Obviously, it would have been a lot more seriously phrased than that, and that is what it was, actually. And once I'm done talking about all that, and, you know, talking about all my, not frustrations, all my, concerns, RTGame is just kind of like, well, how's about we go up there and give you a proper introduction, or something along those lines. And although this doesn't necessarily fix the problem of me meeting the real Rin Penrose and not really being ready for it, I do just kind of decide to agree with this approach, even despite, you know, my concerns. And I'm like, you know, sure, I might as well give it a shot, because, you know, I'm meeting the real Rin Penrose. I can't really argue with that. Anyways, so after that, RTGame kind of reaches out his hand and he's like, "Attaboy, come here," or something along those lines. And then I assume, because I didn't visualize this, I assume we go back up to where the group is, and I sort of envision like a shot of me, you know, standing face away from the camera. By the way, I'm in third person now for some reason. The entire rest of the dream was in first person, but now it's in third person. And I'm sort of facing with my back turned away from the camera, and everyone else is facing sort of toward the camera, but more so towards me, and I'm kind of talking to the group and having a fun time. And that's pretty much the end of it. That was a very strange dream, considering that I don't normally have dreams about YouTubers that I don't watch. So yeah, that was interesting. And another interesting thing is that the purple-haired girl that's supposed to represent the real version of Rin Penrose, they are actually short in the dream. Shorter than pretty much everyone else in that group, actually. I don't know why the dream made Rin Penrose that short. It's not really an important detail, but I feel like that was just the dream trying to signal to me, because I know that apparently Rin Penrose is made fun of for being short. I've even done that a couple of times in a couple of my videos. But yeah, that's probably just another indication to indicate the foreshadowing that would eventually be me realizing that that is actually Rin Penrose. Even though that wasn't Rin Penrose in real life, I don't know what Rin Penrose looks like in real life, and none of this would happen in real life. I just wanted to kind of talk about that dream because I thought it was weird, and I wanted to talk about it. That's pretty much it. I think I want to do more of these, like, dream talks, because there is actually some pretty interesting stuff to talk about when it comes to my dreams. I don't think you guys are ready for the kind of stuff that I have to talk about in regards to my dreams. That's gonna wrap this up, though. So hopefully you guys all enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Bye!